Hello, it's Mio and welcome to another Draw With Me video where I will be drawing in my sketchbook. This time I'm gonna be drawing with alcohol-based markers such as Copics and Pro markers, and then I will also be using some coloring pencils on top of that. And I found some references of people looking up because I want to draw two ladies that are looking up in like a kind of scared manner, or like a little bit spooked. It's kind of horror inspired, so I wanted the colors to be a little bit different, almost like they are half dead, you know, like I want them to be so pale that they're almost green. So that is like my inspiration, my idea behind these drawings. I start by sketching both of the faces with a gray or normal just pencil, which I don't know if it was the greatest idea. I probably should have gone with a erasable coloring pencil so that it is easier to kind of make the sketch disappear when I use the markers and coloring pencils. But I don't know, I was just really feeling a normal pencil this time, so that's just what I did, and then I just thought I would figure out how to fix that along the way, I guess. I also have this thing where I almost just have to, especially when making semi-realistic faces, have to like blend them a little bit, like have to shade it out a little, or it just doesn't look good, and if it doesn't look good in the beginning, I'm not gonna want to continue. So yes, also I had to cut out a few bits of this sketching process because I kept getting the angle wrong. I kept making the nose a little bit too low, and I still feel like the nose doesn't look all that right there either, but it is really hard to get noses to look good in the sketching process when it is in this angle. Like this angle is just not super flattering, I guess. So I struggled a little bit, but you know, we always do. This is nothing new. So the girls are both supposed to be looking up at the same thing, and then it's kind of up to interpretation what they are actually looking at. But I wanted one of them to be screaming, and I wanted the other one to look a little bit more like scared, surprised in a way, but like mild. All in all, I feel like the sketches looked relatively solid. I mean, not my best work, but not my worst either. The only thing I don't like is that the chin of the girl that is screaming is way too small for this angle. So that's the perspective. This is like a nice perspective practice, as well as a coloring practice, because I'm gonna be kind of experimental with the colors on this one. So here come the experimental colors. I started with a gray marker, Copic marker, and I started by first adding them in the darkest areas, but in the end I decided to add it over the whole entire face instead. In hindsight, maybe not the best idea, and I also felt a little bit like it looked terrible when I did this. After I was finished with it, I was like, oh no, what have I done? But I continued. I also added a little bit more of the gray on the dark areas just to make it a little bit thicker. And then I go in with a light yellow, and I put that also all over the whole face, which looks a little bit weird, but the point here was that it was supposed to look a little bit green, but it looked a little bit too yellow actually, so I added some more blue on top of it and hoped that would work. And then I added some just clean green on the neck and in like the darkest areas. And then it was time to kind of bring some life into them so they don't look like a zombie, or she doesn't look like a zombie. So I added some pink for the cheeks, and there's like a weird line over there, which I tried to blend in with a marker. Didn't work that well, but there are gonna be more layers of this color later on, so hopefully that fixes it. Then here I add some brown. I didn't want any blacks in this, like black colors in this, so I tried to keep it to browns. Like the darkest colors is gonna be brown, because I felt like that would just look a little bit more natural in a way, because using clean black in drawings adds more of a cartoony look, and I wanted this to look semi-realistic. I'm still gonna keep it a little bit cartoony. I like big eyes and a little bit more like expressiveness in the faces. yeah. Oh, and I go right in with this white marker that I really enjoy, just to kind of lighten up a few areas that I felt would be a little bit too dark. It is a color that is easy to blend into drawings, I feel like. And it's also not too white. It's not too opaque. So I feel like it works out. We were also in need of a little bit of more shadow, so I decided on blue for the shadow, because if I added green, I felt like it would be too green, and I want like the green to be like the pale of the face, and then I wanted blue to kind of complement the shadows, if that makes sense. I don't know if anything that I'm saying makes sense, but I'm trying here. More brown for the nostrils. Shading the nose is probably my favorite part. I, for some reason, love drawing noses. Noses are so fun. And they both get like tiny little petite noses. This one especially gets like a tiny little nose. And the other girl is gonna get like a little bit of a bigger nose. And then I added eyelashes, but with a brown marker, or a fine liner, a brown fine liner. I would have added it with the brown coloring pencil, but they would be way too soft, and I wanted the eyelashes to be really sharp. So that's why I added with that. I also forgot a wrinkle, so I added that wrinkle on the face because I felt like that would add a little bit more of a dimension and more of a terrified expression. And not like she has a lot of Botox, which is not the goal in here. And here's time for the mouth. The mouth was fun. I used mostly markers for this one, especially in the beginning. I had a lot of pinks, so I'm going to be using those. Started with this very light, beautiful pink, and then I'm going to be adding this darker pink in the shadow areas. And then I will, of course, also be using some coloring pencils afterwards, because markers can only bring you that far when you don't have that many of them. So, but first, blend it in, and then it is time for a more red marker to add a little bit more different colors in there, so it's not all just pink. So, a little bit red. And I actually didn't feel like muddying the mouth that much. I like muddied the face by adding a lot of different colors on top, but I wanted the mouth to kind of stick out a little bit and look way different from the rest of the face. So that's why I did that. Now it is time for the other face. This is pretty much the same process here, but with a few differences, I guess. I start with the gray on everything again, and then I added the yellow on everything except for the insides of the eyes to add a more yellowish green appearance. Then I added blue, but only in the shadows this time. I didn't add it on the whole face, because I wanted her to be a little bit paler in a way. I also want her under eyes to be quite purple, like bluish purple, which is also very apparent in the reference picture that I am following. So yes, that is like the point here, yes. And I do the same thing with the line art. It's gonna be in this nice brown color that I color around the eyes as well as the nostrils, a little bit around the mouth, and that's pretty much where I use the color, a little bit around the face as well, just like the darkest areas. And then I add some more blue to the under eyes. And the shadows are also going to be blue, so I do that afterwards. So pretty much mostly the same process, except that I've learned a few things when making this face that I learned by making the other one. So I'm skipping a few steps, like not putting the blue over the whole face, for example, and so on and so forth. This white color that I add is just, it's God. It does so much for the drawing. It is insane. So of course I had to put it on here as well, and I love it so much. It makes everything kind of pop and come to life almost. It's great. I had a good time with it. both the girls are gonna need some eyebrows, so I added them on both of them. And I had kind of marked out beforehand, of course, where they were supposed to be, so that was not that hard. But I do kind of wish that I got the Screaming Girl's eyebrows a little bit higher up. I feel like that would have made more of a frightened expression. Here she looks a little bit more like she's angry, which is fine as well. Like, why, she can also be angry, it doesn't do much. Oh, and then I add brown for the hair. Yes, with a brush pen, with a brush nib, I mean, which worked a lot to me. But of course, the color is way too like strong, so I had to muddy it out, so it matches with the rest of the lighting, because I wanted them to again look like they have been in a basement for a month and are probably still in the basement, which is why the lighting is like more green. So I added blue on top of that, and I will be doing the same thing for the other girl's hair, except that I added some yellow on top of that as well, because I want their hair to be a little bit different. Then I use this dark brown to kind of line and add a little bit more detail to the Screaming Girl's hair. But I will be doing a different color for the other girl, so that they look like they at least have a little bit of a different colored hair. So the other one is a little bit lighter. For the final detail, I added some blacks into the eyes, and this is gonna be the darkest color, because again, I said I would never use black in this drawing, but I did, I lied, here it is. And then I add a white dot right in the smack middle of the black part, and that is it. This is how the drawing turned out. I have a love-hate relationship with it. I think it's alright, but I think I could have done better. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you liked it, and I'll see you again next week. Goodbye.